Welcome back to movementprofessional.com. So this is the loaded mobility flow using a kettlebell. So first movement we're going to start with is the open half kneeling lateral front squat. So we're going to get ourselves into an open half kneeling position, and we're going to drift to the right, trying to get the knee past the toes, working on ankle dorsiflexion, and then we're going to work on shoulder external rotation while we're in the front rack, while we open the hip up into abduction. Alright, so we'll shift back and forth a few times there, exploring some rotation when we get into the bottom of that open half kneeling position. Alright, every time we come back up, we want to make sure we're using that left hip and that left glute to bring the hip back into a more extended position. And so really take your time, explore the corners of immobility. Now we're going to transition into a half windmill, going from hand down to elbow and exploring some mobility there, in and out of the position, down to the elbow, and then we can explore some range as we crawl the fingers away from the knee, sinking deeper into the left hip, opening up the right knee a little bit into external rotation because that's going to want to cave in. Alright, so exploring range there, making sure that you're not collapsing into the left elbow as it touches the ground, or having the left shoulder go towards the ear. Okay, then next we're going to transition into an open, tall kneeling front squat. So we bring the kettlebell back into a front rack, drop back down into a deep open half kneel, and then come back up out of it using the glutes. You're going to should feel the outer glutes work to bring you out of the position, and then we're really just exploring the range of motion into external rotation and flexion as you go down, and then you're coming up into extension on the way up. So in and out of that. And then we're going to transition right into a Z-sit switch in the front rack. So these positions can be tricky on the knee, so I wouldn't recommend going right into this flow unless you've actually spent some time in these positions statically and you know that they're okay for you. You can use a bolster or some type of yoga block to elevate the hips so you don't have to go as deep. But again, I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing that in a flow. I would be doing that with my static positions first and make sure I own the full range before I start going into this flow here. Alright, so then I'm going to get up into a windmill position and really try to work on deepening the right hip socket there. I'm going to be having much more weight bearing into the right leg, the leg that's under the kettlebell, than into the left. And this works on hip internal rotation in a closed chain. So we go through a couple reps there. And then we're going to reverse the get up. So we reverse the get up, go back into an open half kneel, and then reverse the half windmill down to the ground, and then we're going to go into a kettlebell armbar or different variations of kettlebell armbar. So I'm kind of going right for like a more split open position, and I've gone past the stacked hip position. But in that position, I'm really still trying to stay braced in my core so that it's not, all the motion isn't coming from the lumbar spine. So if I really brace the core there and I try to draw the front ribs down towards the waistband, I can get most of that motion from my thoracic spine and shoulder, and it just feels good to open the hips like that. Alright, as a regression, you may want to keep the top hip on stacked over the bottom hip, but I'm trying to explore some different ranges and I feel pretty comfortable in this position. Alright, so I am going to get some spinal rotation there, but again I'm bracing hard through my right obliques to keep the rib cage down there so I can feel most of this coming from the shoulder and thoracic spine, and then just exploring different hip opening positions. So then I come back to my supine position, bring the kettlebell down, rest it on the mat, and then I would do to the other side. So that's the kettlebell loaded mobility flow. If you have any questions, you can go to movementprofessional.com. I'll see you next time.